Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster playlist here on the GothamChess YouTube channel. This is the recap of my first game in my second tournament back. So I played a tournament in Madrid that is earlier in this playlist. If you haven't watched it, go watch those games. And now I am playing a tournament here in New York City. Now this is a 10-player single round robin, which means there are 9 games. They're over 5 days, so it's a very intense tournament. 2 games a day, except today where I played 1 game in the evening. Yeah, I am the 3rd highest rated player in the section, but I accepted an invitation to play because there was no spots in the GM norm section, and I want practice, okay? And practice is what we are going to get. Now, I got there today, and I am streaming all of these games. They're at 12 and 6 Eastern every single day on my Twitch channel, 10 and 4 on the last day. And for context, in round number 1, and please disregard all of that, we are moving more closet stuff here. So for a little bit of context here, my opponent in the first game of this event is kind of a fascinating case. So my opponent lost 80 rating points in the last 2 months. He's like a 20-year-old guy. I played him 2 years ago. I had white and I won, and he was higher rated then than he is now. It's actually very annoying because his real strength is like 2300 plus. He is more than capable of playing a very, very good game. He's just had 2 really bad months. I think he might be in college now, so he's focusing on things that are shockingly more important than chess. And another problem is the following. He plays the 2 Knights Caro-Kann. And this is a problem. Because if you have watched this channel for a long time, by the way, can I just say, isn't it great I get to film my recaps in my own, like in my own place? It's amazing. Oh, and friendly reminder, tons of behind the scenes content, prep, my deeper thoughts, existential thoughts about life and so on my Patreon. You can subscribe at $7 a month. It's better than a Twitch subscription. So if you have watched this channel before, you know that in Spain, I played this. I played this against Sosa, and that game went bishop f3, queen f3, e6. He played bishop e2, which is main line, and in that game I played this, which I'd never played before. In my return to GM, I've been making my Caro-Kann better, right? So I basically have multiple lines in multiple variations, because if I'm going to play the Caro-Kann at a high level, at a GM level, I need to be able to out-prepare my opponents and get them into situations they can't, you know, trick me anywhere or whatever. Plus, I know this opening really, really well. Now, here's the problem. I can't play this against Danila. Now, you may ask, what do you mean? What do you mean you can't play this? And let me just fix the crop here. The streaming software malfunctioned a little bit and decided to, like, cut a bunch of the space. So the clock is cut off. Apologize for that. Give me a second. I think that should be better. All right, whatever. You tell me if it looks ugly. So the reason I can't play like this against Danila is Danila plays d4. d4 is not a great line, but even if you know everything against d4, it's just equal. Now, if Sosa played a very forcing line like d4, I would have been okay with it, my opponent in the previous tournament, but I couldn't do that now. Couldn't do it because, well, even if black, you know, even if white knows everything, whether it's bishop here or whatever, I mean, I have no idea what Danila had prepared, but I was like, I don't want to play one of these forcing lines where, you know, so what I decided to play is actually something I've played in a few blitz games, which is this move, bishop e6. Now here, black can do everything. Black can play queen a5, trying to play bishop f5. Black can play queen d5. Black can play bishop e6, which is trying to develop the knight behind the bishop, or black can develop the knight like this. This is the main line. Play now goes bishop c4, knight f6. There's a way for them to sack their queen but threaten checkmate. You blunder it, or don't. And then this is a very thematic position. It's been played many, many times. I decided, let's go bishop e6. I've played this in a few games, and I thought he would not be prepared. Now, here's something funny. I saw that he had played knight d7, d4. See, he loves the pawn on d4, so that's what I figured out. And a couple of years ago, he played like this against Akira Nakata. Actually, I played Akira in Madrid, in Spain. And here's where it gets funny. In our game, I went bishop e6. He played the best move, by the way, which is this. Even though he spent 6 minutes, I was really annoyed by that. Because if you've never played this before, you might play d4. d4's a mistake, but like b3 is a good move. Maybe c4 to stop this. He played one of the kind of cutting edge moves, one of these moves that's pretty new. It's a decent idea. And now black has bishop d5 right away, trying to put pressure, and that's also in my notes, and maybe I'll play it in another game. But I had knight d7, d4, knight f6, and then here I sat at the board, and I was like, I prepared this position, and I'm not even joking. I looked at queen e5, queen d3, queen e3, and queen h4, which are the only moves that he can play. But I didn't look at queen f4. I mean, it's not like queen f4 wins the game. But I was sitting there at the board going, why didn't I mean, he's played a very similar thing, right? I just showed you he played literally this position, and then sure enough, he played queen f4. And what's funny is it's basically the same thing, except these two moves are included, which I thought might benefit me. Now, again, the problem with playing down by 100 points and kind of having that feeling like you have to win, I know the best move in this position. The best move according to the engine, anytime the queen goes to f4, is queen d6. I have studied these positions. The problem is, and even if he doesn't take, this is complete symmetry. Like, yeah, I can win this position if, you know, he falls asleep for 85 minutes and then wakes up because he didn't sleep a lot the night before. But, you know, I didn't want to do this. And that's, again, that's sort of the issue of kind of playing down. So I played g6, which I thought was a reasonable move. The computer here wants to play bishop g4 and develop in the center, which, yeah, I mean, you know, I haven't played this position that much. And so I was playing it the way I thought it should be played, which is I put the bishop, you know, on g7. And that's actually not that accurate. It actually is better to sneak out of here and go here. And that's kind of like, this is like a pit stop for the bishop in many ways. It's a pit stop because if you go back to the beginning, there's no way you can develop it like this. And if you go here trying to play bishop f5, this move exploits your position. So I should have played bishop g4. I went here, he went castle, I played bishop g7. And then he played this move c4. Now, what I understood about the position is I have a bishop and it's going to stare at his center, right? I also have this bishop, which I would like to trade off at some point because otherwise I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. I could put it on f5, but I thought c3 made sense. If he had played c3, I would have probably castled and tried to play on the light squares. Would have been a very interesting game. But he went c4. And right away, c4 gave me an interesting idea. Because again, I know I need to get rid of this bishop. Like, let's say I castle, I don't get rid of my bishop. I thought he plays knight e5, so I cannot play bishop g4 anymore. Right, then I thought, okay, maybe I can, you know, move my queen somewhere, let's say queen d6. Then I thought he's gonna play b3, rook e1. You know, like, again, I'm just gonna make a couple of moves. Like, he's gonna play rook d1, and he's gonna play rook e1. And I saw this position coming, like he's just gonna make a bunch of regular moves. And I thought, what am I doing? Now, it's not that simple, right? Like, of course, queen d6, b3, the computer already, you know, wants to begin fighting back. Maybe knight e5 is not the best move. But he doesn't have to play knight e, you know, he could play this, and now I can't go here. Where am I putting my bishop, right? Computer's already trying to sacrifice a pawn. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I would have probably gone like bishop f5. But then he's going to, again, just make improving moves. So I thought, oh, what about this? What about bishop g4? I thought this was really smart. And I have a very simple plan. He's going to go here. I'm going to take. I'm going to play e6. He's going to put one rook in the center. I'm going to castle. He's going to play b3. And my plan here is to play like queen a5, rook d8, double on the d file, put pressure on this pawn. This pawn can't move forward because I control that square with my entire life. And I was going for this type of position because he had not played c3 to get a rock-solid center, but because he had played c4. So I thought this makes perfect sense. Now here he did something that made Hikaru damn near have a panic attack on stream. Hikaru was covering the game, and he was laying into my opponent. And I gotta tell you, I was very confused why my opponent was not just saying, like, if you really want to put the bishop there, go ahead. He played rook e1. This move is a little bit too sophisticated for me. I did not understand it, so I castled. I also should not have spent that much time. It was, I mean, I was trying to exploit, like, the rook positioning, and just, I mean, rook e1, I should have castled in 5 seconds. So, not a good time spend. Now I'm sitting there thinking of h3, and he spends another 4 minutes, and he goes here. Which I thought also didn't make sense. Like, I thought the bishop wants to be here. Or I thought the bishop wants to be on b2, supporting the center, and I just thought the bishop on e3 doesn't make sense. And so here I played this move e6, because again, I'm also being stubborn. I only am going to take his knight, right? I'm only going to take his knight if he attacks me. Otherwise, I'm just going to, you know, prepare for that structure. So I thought we had a very clear thing that was happening here. And then finally he played h3, but he spent 24 minutes convincing himself of this. And when I was witnessing this at the board, I was like, oh, he's like really malfunctioning. I mean, like something, I mean, you don't even think about h3 if you're going to play. I mean, you just get the bishop. Now, I think he thought about knight e5, but that move doesn't even make sense because, I mean, at the very least, I can trade the knights. Like, at the absolute very least. And I might not even do that, you know? So he finally goes here, and so now I need to show why I did all of this, right? And I'm up 23 minutes on the clock. So I tried to play my next move pretty fast. It didn't pan out. I spent almost 10 minutes. I don't even know where time went, to be honest. The truth is I'm really solid, and I stopped d5. But I kind of don't have a very good position. Like, my position's pretty boring. And what I should have done here, no joke, is I should have played rook e8. Let's say he goes here. Then I can go out here and attack the pawn and cause some problems. So he actually can't really move his rook. Like, let's say he goes here. The engine wants rook e7, rook d7. Let me tell you something right now. I am not smart enough at chess to play like that. I'm just not good enough yet. That's the last thing I was thinking of. Just a slow maneuver. And the point is, I'm completely solid. He just can't do anything. And then I'll move my queen, and then I'll go here. Another option, and I had a major question during the game is, do I trade the queens? And you may remember, my friends, we don't know each other, but you know, you can call us that. Queen f4. Again, I told you, I know I'm supposed to trade the queens. The question was, do I trade the queens? If not queen b8, do I play rook c8? And then do I trade the queens, right? Do I trade the queens? And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't, because I thought if I trade the queens, I'll never ever win. I might not lose, but I will never win this game. Like, if I play queen b8, take, I just thought, yo, I have no play. All my pieces are on the 6th rank and below. He has 2 bishops. He's pointing at my position. He's just going to play, like, b4. I'm going to try to put pressure on the center. He's going to go here. And I'm going to sit like this. This is what I'm going to do. This is how we're going to play this game. You see, he's going to march forward. And probably this is holdable. And I was like, man, this is so upsetting. Like, the 2 knights Caro Kann is actually quite an annoying opening, I got to tell you. So I said, okay, queen a5. I'm playing queen a5. That's what we're doing. Queen to a5. With one plan in mind, and then a second plan. Plan number 1, double the rooks on the d file. Plan number 2, bother the queenside pawns. Plan number 3, trade the queen when I want. So, for example, bishop d2, I was thinking of queen f5. And I thought, okay, I did trade the queens, but he made a concession, right? So this was my plan. Rook d8, rook d7, rook d8, etc. Queen a5, he played a3. I expected a3 to enable the movement of his rook so the pawn is no longer hanging, and also to play b4. Here I spent time because I didn't know which rook to put on d8. And actually I chose wrong, although I thought I was choosing right during the game. So I expected that he would go b4, right? And I thought, well, when he goes b4, I'm going to go queen a4, and I'm going to hang out. I'm going to try to hang out in his territory, right? And I thought it makes more sense to play rook d8. Why does it make more sense to play this rook to d8? Because the bishop is there. So if I play b5, for example, he takes, but this is hanging. However, if this is here, and then I can play b5, well, then I'm in great shape. Because I'm going to get a knight to d5 and have a better position almost, or take, or take. So I just thought, well, of course rook a d8 makes more sense, because I'm no longer at the end of a diagonal of a bishop. What could be more natural? And it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to double the rooks anyway. Like, I didn't think this was the better move. I was wrong. It absolutely was the better move, and he played b4. And so, at this point, I thought for a bit. Again, my time advantage is getting a little bit lower, but I had a very clear plan here. And my very clear plan was, I want to play queen a6 and target this, but if I do that, he's going to play rook c1, and then my queen's a bit offside. And if I play b5, he's going to take it, because I'm trying to secure control of the d5 square. And then he plays rook c6, and then I resign. Right, so I have to play like here and hang a pawn. Rook takes pawn. Discovered attack. So, okay, queen a4. Oops, sorry, queen a6, rook c1. Didn't like it. So I thought, oh, I'm going to go here. He's going to go bishop d1, and we're going to repeat moves. And I actually calculated, like, first of all, I can make a draw probably, bishop d1. But I calculated something here which I thought was really smart. So from a distance, I calculated queen a4, bishop d1, queen a6, bishop e2, b5, cb, cb, a4, utilizing the pin of the bishop on the queen and all of this. But in that time, because his c-pawn is gone, I go knight d5, hitting the queen and the bishop. The queen and the bishop. When the queen goes back, I play knight c3, which hits b5, a4, and the bishop on e2. So I calculated this, b5, take, a4, knight d5, queen f3, and then something like this. I don't even have to do that. Apparently, I can go here and just take the pawn on b4, but as you see, the calculation is correct. I calculated this whole thing. I thought, okay, now I'm ready to take over the game. I'm sitting there and I'm going, wait, but what if he plays rook c1 anyway? So now I don't have this b5 concept, because I was relying on his bishop to move, and he plays it. Now, to my credit, he spent 18 minutes, so I clearly confused him a little bit. And at this point, I understood bishop d1 is coming, so he's going to kick out my queen, and then he's going to go here. Now, what's funny about this position is, even though this looks completely like everything went wrong for me, because if you think about it, literally his queenside was immobile. It was not moving. And suddenly I baited it for, I put my queen there as a target for him, for him to just kick me around. And yet, after rook c1, it's fine. And I should start preparations against his center. Now, I played knight e8 later in the game, but this is very clever. And those of you who have watched my lessons with Coach Nick Sons, if you haven't, all of them are on the Patreon. That was a seamless integration. One of the biggest things that he's told me is the concept of two mistakes, where you make a bad move and you get surprised by an opponent's response, and your second move is even worse. And that's what happened in the game. Now, in my defense, in the game, I completely missed his idea. And it's the only way for him to get an advantage. And it's a pretty nasty idea. It's the best plan in the position. If he does not have this idea, I'm about to take over the game. The idea is really smart. It's actually a very fascinating thing that he did. Now, what I should have done is I should have went here. Because even if he plays bishop d1, and even if he plays a4, he has weaknesses. Like, he has to be careful too. So somehow the engine is completely not afraid. And had I gone knight e8, I'm not really sure what he would have done, to be honest. I mean, I'm really not sure. It's very hard for him to make a move. This is a very nice move. And the point is that, again, now if he tries to, like, you know, execute his plan, I'm bringing my knight to the center. He doesn't have c5. He could go like here, but then the knight gets to the best square, and I'm putting pressure. So it was time for knight e8. I didn't play it in the game. He finds queen c7, queen a5. And when I saw this idea, I mean, that is really smart. And the point is, even though the queen is here, targeting it weakens my position. So I have to go here. And at this point, I was like, oh man, he outplayed me. He just outplayed. I mean, queen c7, queen a5 was a nice idea. I did not see that. And now look at his bishops. A while ago, I said the bishop there made no sense. Now it's going to make a whole lot of sense, and he's going to go b5. And I have misplayed in a way where my queen is like, it's a miracle it's not trapped. But I saw that it wasn't trappable. I always have a way to get out. But I'm like, oh my god, am I going to lose this game? Now I play knight e8. Because this is coming. Now my original intention was to play rook d8, but I didn't have a good response on b5. I just thought like I'm getting steamrolled. So I went here, and the point is that now this pawn is hanging all the time, whereas previously it wasn't. He goes b5, I take. Apparently the engine here wants him to take with the c pawn, which somehow doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it doesn't even matter. He took with the pawn I thought he was going to take with. At this point, we're both getting quite, we're getting to 10 minutes, getting that critical time spot in the game. Now, I wanted to take on d4 here, but I thought it was just a bad move. Like, I thought somehow I'm going to blunder something. I also thought, like, at the very least, he's going to win my pawn. I don't know. I thought about it. Engine likes it, but I went here. And now, this is where he had his biggest advantage in the game. This is where people on the live stream panicked. But I don't think it's findable. The point is, my queen is surviving. I mean, first of all, he's almost trapping my queen. Just by the way. The only reason my queen survives here is because I have b6, which is pretty disgusting. And the point is, the queen is stuck guarding two rooks, so he can't take the pawn. I take here, and then we trade, and then, it's fine. So he played what I thought was the best move. Like, during the game, he went rook b1, and I thought the whole time that was his plan. So I thought, during the game, I'm worse, but I'm going to defend. And, he's making me suffer, but, I thought he was playing all the best moves. So queen a4, I have to trade the queen. And my plan was he's going to take. He's going to take, like, let's say rook b7. But then I was like, I'm not even sure this is that good for him. I have an outside pass pawn. Like, he has a very strong pawn, but I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to push. I mean, and if he takes with the bishop, if I'm stupid, he's going to go c5, c6, and of course I can resign the game. But I'm not stupid, so I'm going to take on d4. And he can't really do this, because I take the bishop, and so, my pawn is going to survive. So I'm sitting there going, wait, I don't think this is that easy. I thought it was really easy. So he took on b5, and now was his last moment. He actually told me he wanted to play this move during the game. He took with the rook, which to me looked much more natural. Taking with the pawn is better, actually. His plan is he's going to go here and rook c7, and he's just going to put pressure on the pawn forever. In the meantime, I'm going to run to d5. It's going to be here, here. He thought about taking, and then he thought about going rook c7. And, this position is really, really scary, but I will survive. Like, he's going to get here, and he's going to get here. But this is a draw, because he can't really move his rook. Well, it's going to be a while. He's going to run his king. I'm going to cut him off. He's going to go here. I have to play e5. He's going to chase me. He's got to be a little careful, though. So, he thought about cb5, but he ultimately took with the rook. I went knight d6 because it defends my pawn and attacks his rook. And then I went here, right? It's the only move that I have. This is the only plan that I have. I can't take on d4 because of a really nasty trap. Rook d1, e5 looks like it holds everything. He takes the pawn, which I saw, and I was like, uh-oh, I can't blunder that. And now I'm going to lose because I'm going to lose this pawn. I'm going to lose the game. So I went knight d6, knight f5. I thought, okay, he's going to take my pawn. I'm going to take here, but I have to do it the right way. So he took on b7, and I thought I was very smart here. Before I'm taking the pawn, I'm going to attack his bishop and make it leave. Now, again, there are ways to screw this up. For example, I mean, this is very exaggerated, but like, this is a scary endgame. Because he's 2 squares away from queening. You know what I mean? So that's why I went rook b8, because I thought, well, now he's got to go there. Now I'm going to go here. And I thought the difference here is that I can get counterplay with my pawns. So c5, f5, something like this. I bring my king, I bring my rook. It's probably going to be a draw. So rook b8. Then he went here. I was like, that's an inaccuracy because I have rook b6, actually. He's not going to go there because that doesn't make any sense. He's going to go here. And now we have a problem because he can't even push his pawn. So the major point of the white position being advantageous was the pawns. I mean, if we go back like 6 or 7 moves, I mean, it was the pawns. It was the majority, and it was my weak b pawn. I was able to play this very nice defensive maneuver just in time. And then I suddenly was like, wait a minute, he might be in a little trouble here. And he went bishop g5. At this point already, you can see that it's clock management. I'm up 3 minutes. Now, here I did something really dumb. I'm very annoyed at myself about this. I thought I was doing a nice job putting clock pressure on him. And then I thought down to 4 seconds. This was so stupid. It really was. And I think it was really stupid because for the first time in the game, I felt like I was in control, you know, because I hadn't been in control. He was outplaying me. And I just got jumbled up here. Like, first thing I saw was this, which I thought was a super cool move. Threatening knight e2 and also threatening bishop f2. But it's a bad move because I get my knight trapped, which is super tragic. But knight g3 is still fine. Then I thought, well, I can play h6, but then I was like, I don't want to play h6 because he's going to go here and here. He's going to realize that his move was bad. Then I was like, I can play f6, but then I'm weakening my pawns. I thought I could play e5. I thought about bishop c5, rook d6, knight d4. I thought about knight d6. And I thought, 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 and I played king g7 to get my king off the back rank to fight for the dark squares. I played this move with 4 seconds on the clock. I got up to 34 seconds. I was so mad. I was like, what am I doing? But then here, he almost panicked, and he almost went rook a1. Actually, if you watch the live stream, it's on Twitch. It's on Twitch, like the streams are only available for subscribers. I don't do that to earn any extra cash. I actually do that because sometimes I'm playing music. And there's like issues sometimes with copyright, so I just paywall it and so on. But now you can even upload VODs with no music, so I might just disable that altogether. But if you watch it, you know, you'll see that he almost went rook a1. He literally put his rook here, kept his hand on it, and was like, and panicked and went rook d1. He played rook d1 with 2 seconds on the clock. Now again, I was looking at all sorts of different things. Ultimately, I settled on this, also with 2 seconds on the clock. I got that 30 extra seconds. And so I thought he was going to go bishop d2, at which point I was going to go e5. He was going to go here. I was going to move my rook somewhere. And we were going to play this endgame. I was going to try to pry apart his knight and bishop, his pawn and bishop. But then he went bishop d8. He put the bishop on d8, and he blundered. And he knew right away he blundered. He played bishop d8. He went to press the clock. And, yeah, I had seen this idea from a distance, like rook d6, setting up some nasty stuff. But he made it even worse. So now his bishop is hanging, discovered attack, and he had to sacrifice material. And now I fulfill the destiny of prying apart these 2 pieces. This is a winning endgame because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to advance my pawns, advance my king, all while monitoring the advancement of this pawn. His bishop is totally out of the game, so I went to the 2nd rank. And he can't really chase me down here because he's gonna lose his pawn. He could run, but I'm in the square. Like, even... Oh, that's funny. I'm not a... Okay. Well, I wouldn't have blundered that, but, you know, I would have went, like, rook b2, and I threatened his bishop, and then he would have, you know, and then I would have stopped him, and this is also winning because I bring my king, I sack the rook, and yeah, so... but he resigned, and I managed to win. And I mean, yeah, it's literally he made like 1 bad move the whole game, and he lost. There was a moment earlier in the game, like I said, where, you know, the engine was screaming that I was like significantly worse. It was here. He had to play rook a3, rook a2, bishop d1. And then take with the queen. That's what he had to do. He had to kick my queen off the file and do this. And now he has a pretty big advantage. That's not easy to see. Rook a3, rook a2, etc. Like, because you're tunnel visioning on trapping the queen. But the point is, after rook a3, rook a2, I get kicked off the b file, and then he takes. And that was the important thing. Like, he needed to keep his pawns together, put his pieces like this. And yeah, he didn't see it. And I mean, I didn't see that maneuver. And, you know, to go forward, go back, and backwards again, and then take. Now, should I have been this provocative? You know, I want to say no, but the honest truth is the real issue here is that this move disturbed me, and I thought I had to go here. I played it instantly because, again, I thought, well, he's going to go bishop d1 a4, but I should have formulated, and I should have found knight e8. That's what I should have done. Knight e8 is a findable move because you go here and you go, it's actually not so bad. He plays bishop e2. There's no threats. He plays a4. Now he's under threat. He plays c5. He loses a pawn. So, you know, d5, queen b4. Like, it was findable. I was annoyed I played queen a5 during the game, but I'm more annoyed I just kind of like offhand played queen b3. But first game, shake it off. I won. And the tournament goes on. I'll put a link in the description for you to follow along. And I'm going to go to sleep now because it's 12:45 in the morning. So whenever you watch this, I appreciate you very much. And check out the Patreon and get out of here.